Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another weekly edition of the All Aboard newsletter with the weekly tips. And so, what we are going to be talking about today is probably one of my favorite topics to talk about, and one of the topics that doesn't get talked about enough. In a world where everybody's saying more, 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 not enough people are talking about when does it make sense to slow down, take some time, and take a rest. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I rest. I'm going to talk about the signs of burnout, and I'm going to talk about kind of some of the dangers of hustle culture, in my opinion. I think when we are entrepreneurs, we want to push, we want to make it happen, right? I was talking to somebody recently that said something about ambition, and I said, ambition is the difference between somebody who makes it happen versus somebody who waits for it to happen. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs fall into that category where they are the ones to make it happen. And as soon as they hit a milestone or they accomplish a goal, instead of stopping, pausing, reflecting, celebrating, and really resting, they just say, okay, cool. What's next? What's the next record? What's that next mountain to climb? And that can be great. It can help us achieve amazing things, but it can also do a lot of damage. So today we're going to talk about the topic when to rest and how do we do that. So with that, let's dive right in. All right, everybody. So let's go ahead and talk about rest. And I think that the topic this week is apt, right? It is fitting because I am actually on vacation right now. So I pre-recorded this video and I set it up to release when I was traveling. So like right now, when you're watching this, I am in Japan. I'm probably sleeping if you're awake because the time changes a little bit crazy. But the way that I like to rest is I like to go on vacation. I like to explore. I like to experience new things, and that's going to be different for everybody. So let's dive in a little bit, and let's start out by talking about hustle culture. Okay, so hustle culture is prominent on the internet. I think it's always talking about like doing more, about how you can outwork everybody else, and how just a little bit more. And if you do what other people won't do, like it's going to set you apart and you're going to win. And I think that reading that type of material or consuming that type of content can feel really good. And I think it can be very, very helpful if we're not feeling motivated or if we're feeling like we're procrastinating a little bit. But sometimes lack of motivation or procrastination can be signs that it is time to take a rest. And so I used this example of hustle culture over here on the right side of your screen, where this guy is basically saying, all right, well, if you work 4 hours on the weekend, you get up at 4 a.m., like you're getting like an extra 26 additional days, and that's going to set you apart. And while that math does work, like in theory, the math works, what he is not talking about is this idea of diminishing marginal returns. We only have so much attention. We only have so much energy. And so if you have the ability to push, an extra 5 hours every weekend by waking up at 4 a.m., fine, good for you. But the reality is that most of us, after a full week, 9 to 5, are completely spent. And instead of spending an extra 4 hours working at 4 a.m. on a Saturday, you'd probably be better off just sleeping in. Because guess what? When does all the growth occur? If we think about like lifting weights or exercise, all the growth occurs at rest, right? You have to rest to recover. Your brain is no different. If you are facing new challenges, you're learning new things, and you're never getting any rest, you're not sleeping, your brain is not able to form new memories. Have you ever noticed that whenever you're on like a walk or like in the shower or driving, your best ideas come to you? Well, that's because your mind is at rest. And when your mind is at rest, your mind continues to work on things. And so hustle culture can be cool, but I think a lot of times it's really just a way to get likes and comments. And in some ways, like it can just be like a big circle jerk. Okay, it's similar to posting something on social media that everyone's gonna be like, yeah, and all just agree with. All it does is get you engagement and makes you feel good. Okay, so hustle culture can be good, right? And that's why I have this headline here: is hustle culture can be good, but not if it takes away time with you or your family. All right, I think there's so many people who built amazing businesses and they don't have great relationships with their kids, and they're trying to play catch up later in life. I've seen it over and over and over again. And what you find is that the kids have a lot of resentment towards the parents because the parents worked hard, and the parents have resentment towards the kids because they're like, didn't you see all this work I did for you? And the reality is the kids just wanted their parent. And so then you have this weird relationship later on. People are on their deathbed. They don't ever regret not working more, right? They regret not spending more time with their loved ones. Hustle culture can be good, but not if it leaves no time to pursue hobbies. If you're never having any fun, if you don't have any hobbies outside of work, are you even a real person? Like if the only thing you ever do is work, you're not well-rounded. And that was me a couple years ago. It actually took COVID to get me back in a place where I focused on hobbies. And now it's like I've got all types of hobbies. I have so many interests, so many I can't even keep up with them all. And what's good about that is it gives me a place to completely disconnect from work to give my mind some rest. So again, hustle culture can be good, but not if it affects your health. Some people are so stressed working so much. They're not eating right. They're not sleeping. They're not taking care of themselves mentally or physically, and it's affecting their health. No job, no business is worth affecting your health, right? Like we think about this. If you're a sports fan, you might see like Tua Tagovailoa. I'm probably butchering his name. That dude's gonna die on the field because he just keeps taking hits to the head. It's not worth it, right? It's not worth it if you're making $40 million to die. It's not worth it if we're running an insurance agency either, okay? Hustle culture can be good, but not if it makes your team feel like they can't rest, okay? One of the problems when you have a leader who never takes time off or never rests is that the team feels like they can't take any rest. And maybe you can deal with it. Maybe you can push really hard for an extended period of time, but not everybody is built that way, okay? So people watch the leader, people follow the leader, whether you're saying to do it or not, all right? So hustle culture can be good, but there are some problems with it. And then the last thing is hustle culture can be good, but not if it prevents you from accomplishing meaningful work. There's a difference between being busy and doing important work. If you are mentally shot because you're so tired, you're not going to be able to get important work done. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about burnout, right? Like not that type of burnout, but burnout in general at work. All right. So the first one is like if you're always pissed off, if you're lashing out at people, you have a short temper, or you're crying all the time, good sign that it's time to take a break. I've seen this in myself, like where I've got a very short temper. If I have a short temper or I'm feeling very negative about things, usually it's a sign I need to take some time off, okay? Next, if you can't focus on one task for a specific period of time, that is another sign that you might need to take some rest. I think there is a caveat here with the way social media works. I think a lot of us can't focus like we used to be, but it also might just be that if you put your screens down for a week, like I should say a week, a couple days, you might find yourself able to focus because all that noise goes away. Have you ever noticed when you're on vacation, you're kind of stressed for a day or two, and then after like 2 or 3 days, you just kind of don't give a shit anymore? That's what happens when you get away, right? It feels really nice. I would encourage you to do that more if you're feeling burned out. All right. Next, if you're procrastinating important or hard work, that should be a signal to you that maybe you're tired and you don't have the mental capacity or energy right now to do the hard thing. Right. If you're doing something new, if you're doing something hard, you kind of got to dig deep. You're going to try, you're going to fail. Like I think I heard Sam Altman, the guy who founded ChatGPT, OpenAI, talk about like he's like burnout doesn't come from work, burnout comes from failing, and failing is a natural byproduct of learning. And so if you are winning, you have momentum, you're going to be energized, you're going to keep going. But if you are failing, it's going to be tiring. And the reality is like if we think about all of like the failures that we have every single day in our businesses or in our jobs, there's a lot of them, right? But we're learning, we're getting better. It doesn't mean that we're at rock bottom, but we are failing, we are adjusting, we are getting better. Okay. Number 4, if you're always tired, that's a sign. Like I talked about this at the C8 conference. I said I used to go into this class and I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so tired. But as soon as I walked out of class, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm ready to conquer the day. And it's just because I was so exhausted by that topic. And I think sometimes it feels that way at work, right? I get off work and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so tired. But then if I'm like an hour outside, I go do something fun. I'm like, I'm not tired at all. I don't want to go to sleep, right? So if you can't sleep, it's maybe because you're stressed out and your mind's running. Or 2, maybe you don't want to go to bed because you don't want to go to work tomorrow, right? Sign that you need to take a break. And 3rd or 5th, you're feeling guilty because you're doing nothing, but you don't have the energy to do anything. I feel this way sometimes. You're like, man, I'm just sitting around and I feel like I shouldn't waste the day. But then I don't have the energy to go do anything. Again, the best thing I could probably do that day is just chill and do nothing and let my mind and body rest, okay? So these are signs of burnout. Watch out for them in yourself and your staff. It doesn't have to be this way, right? Like you can have rest. Like that's one of the best parts about being an entrepreneur, okay? So I saw this graphic and I really liked this. It's the stress curve, right? So it's like you're inactive, right? Like you're probably not doing enough. Then you're laid back and you're like, okay, cool. So like you kind of ramp it up a little bit and you start getting tired. You're like, all right, like, well, I'm starting to run out of gas, but then you keep going. And you're just like, oh, geez, okay. Now I'm really starting to feel it. And then when you start feeling paranoid or anxious for no reason or panicking or whatever, and then you have a full blown mental breakdown. I've seen this happen so many times. I've seen it happen myself. Luckily, I haven't had a breakdown in a while. But sometimes these things just come and just like something happens and you're just like so unreasonably upset. And, not, we can't always identify when we're unreasonably upset, but the more you can and be like, wow, I'm way more upset at this thing than I should be. Sign that it's time for a vacation, right? So here are the things that work for me. This is how I get rest. I figured I'd share this, right? So one is I always have a goalpost. So basically, I always have a vacation or time off planned. When I get back from vacation, I'm gonna be like, I got to get my next thing planned because it gives me a finish line. It gives me something to sprint towards. All right. If I don't have it, then I'm like, well, this is my life forever. So, for instance, I'm going to Japan for a couple weeks. I will be going to Poland this summer with my dad. That will be my next goalpost. And then I'll have another trip planned. I will have another trip planned sometime in the fall with my wife. Okay. Second, I reward myself with things or experiences. Okay. So I used to never reward myself. I'd make money, I'd save it all. Now I take a small part of every paycheck and I put it in a slush fund for myself. And the reality is, I don't really like to buy a lot of things. I do like to travel. I budget for travel. But I have a slush fund, and every once in a while, there's just something kind of stupid that I want, and I'm like, I shouldn't buy this. It's just like a stupid purchase, but I have the slush fund, and I'll buy it, right? And so I reward myself, some self care, right? Third, I try to travel to 2 or 3 new countries per year. For me, novelty, new things are very important. I love seeing new places, meeting new people, experiencing new cultures, understanding how different people live in different parts of the world, right? I think we can think that America is the greatest country on earth, and it is. However, it doesn't mean that America does everything the best, right? And I think it's crazy we think that sometimes. And so getting out in the world helps you experience different things. It takes your world from being this big to this big, and it helps you learn all types of new stuff, right? So that's number 3. And number 4, this is a new thing I started doing this year is how do I get some rest at home on a weekly basis? Well, I go to lunch every week with my wife. Sometimes it's on a Friday, sometimes on a Saturday. It's just time for me and her to go together. We try a new restaurant or we go somewhere new after a restaurant, and it's just time for us to kind of connect and hang out. It's not dinner, so it's not late. It's just a lunch, right? It's chill. Sometimes you go home, take a nap, right? It's awesome, right? So these are the ways that I get rest. This is what works for me. And this is where I'm going to leave you guys, okay? Is I like this metaphor to work like a lion. And this idea is like he basically says, look, don't work all the time. You don't have to be constantly grinding. Like think about how a lion lives. A lion will hang around all day, it'll graze a little bit, but when it comes time to hunt, they sprint really hard, really fast, okay? And then they rest again. And that's how I try to live my life. That's how I try to live my life at work. And so with that, I hope that this gives you some inspiration to plan that next vacation or take some time off. Agency owners all over the country, whether you're an Allstate agent, a farmer's agent, a State Farm agent, or an independent agent, or just like a general entrepreneur, there's been a lot of change in the industry. It's been a tough couple years. If you're feeling burned out, take some rest. You're going to be happy you did. Your family's going to be happy you did. Your staff is going to be happy you did. Okay. So with that, until next time, thank you so much for your time, energy, and attention. And as always, if there's any way I can help you, whether that's through Next Call Club with leads, consulting, training, data analytics, let us know. Or if you just have a quick question, shoot me an email back and I'd be happy to answer it for you. Cheers.